Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and having a great week. As we are entering into outlining these essays, we really first need to talk about paragraph formation and what it really looks like when you're writing a problem. Um, Sorry for that typo, a problem and solution essay. So, what is the main purpose of an introduction? Well, the main purpose of your introduction is going to be to let to know your reader the issue that you'll be discussing and how you plan to solve that issue. To present any background information that will contribute to the purpose of this essay, this can look like history on the issue or statistics with the issue or just anything that will help your reader have a general idea of why this problem originated in the first place. Letting your reader know what your main message or your thesis statement is. And then you have an option to give them a roadmap to show them the various parts of your problem and how you plan to solve that problem. Keep in mind that you should have a mental checklist. You always need a hook, a transition, and a thesis statement. And again, one of the main things that you need to remember about that thesis statement is that it's a two-part thing. You should have your problem and your solution. So, what is not in an introduction? The introduction is not a place to be unpacking specific parts of the essay. This is what should take place in your body paragraphs. Also, consider why questions wouldn't be a wise practice when you're starting an argument. We need to debunk this theory that you should always start with a question and that that's a way to hook your audience. Think about your purpose. Your purpose is that you are trying to sell to your audience that you have found a problem within your field, and better yet, you have found a way to solve that. I also want to remind you at this time when you're writing an academic essay, especially a research essay, you want to try to steer away from first person language. This is saying something like, I believe, or I think, or I know. And the reason being is your readers are looking to see an academic argument rather than an emotional argument. So we want to keep our language in third person as much as possible. So let's take a look at an example idea for what this could look like. In the world of education, access to technology can be very difficult for rural communities. This is clearly the problem component of the thesis. I am proposing a solution to fix this problem area. So, again, guys, this is just an example idea of what we're going to be doing. And I'm just kind of casting vision on what this example is going to look like in retrospect to your own essay. So, let's take a look at an example introduction. It's often referred to as a calling rather than a job. But K through 12 educators all over the world are talking about how their calling is becoming increasingly difficult. While teachers do their best to ensure that the best instruction is given in the classroom, there is a real possibility of sending children home with homework assignments to complete important concepts. While this seems like a simple notion, it is simply not. In rural communities everywhere, teachers cannot assume their students have access to internet connections due to provider availability or even lack of sufficient funds. This leads to students becoming increasingly behind in their instruction, which leads to an overall lack of equity for students who live in rural communities with limited internet access. This is an issue that has been weighing on the mind of educational leaders all over the world, but it is also an issue that needs an immediate solution until there is resolve. While this is a massive systemic issue that cannot be solved by educators, elementary education has an opportunity to review its own processes to eliminate this issue of technology access. The solution to this lack of technology access is to create a computer laboratory study hall after school hours where selected teachers who desire a stipend to their pay have the opportunity to open a designated room for students to use their Chromebooks for 2 hours a day. after the school day ends. So let's unpack that and take a closer look. First, we see this sentence. It's often referred to as a calling rather than a job, but K through 12 educators all over the world are talking about how their calling is becoming increasingly difficult. That's a great hook that just intrigues the reader and asks them to take a different look and to really consider what this is going to be about. And then we have this background information that really helps you understand what we're going to be writing about. It's not the thesis, it's just unpacking in greater depth what this whole idea and concept is going to be. And then finally, we have the thesis. The solution to this lack of technology access is to create a computer laboratory study hall after school hours where selected teachers who desire a stipend to their pay have the opportunity to open a designated room for students to use their Chromebooks for 2 hours a day after the school day ends. What we see there, y'all, is first we see this very clear problem: lack of technology access. And then we see a viable solution that this paper is going to cover. So, questions to ask yourself: is the issue clearly stated? Is there an obvious solution? That has to do with your thesis. Does it clearly state the writer's thesis? And does the reader know what to expect in the essay? And then finally, what that leads to is this overall question: what did the reader walk away thinking that they were going to read? So now let's talk about a body paragraph. What is the point of a body paragraph? The body paragraph should share a point that proves the thesis statement. In a problem solution essay, there are two distinct portions. The first few paragraphs prove that the problem actually exists. You are, in essence, creating an argument. And the second portion of the essay should prove that your solution is valid and reasonable. The body paragraph should use supportive research to support each idea, which are your topics. And then the body paragraph should explain that research as well. You can't simply use research without connecting it to the bigger idea. You have to make those connections. And then finally, the body paragraph should have a summative sentence that transitions to the next paragraph. What should not be in your body paragraph? You should not simply repeat your introduction. You should not have multiple ideas with multiple focus points in your topic sentence. That creates some really bad organization and just overall harms your cohesion. Paragraphs that have no supportive evidence, if there's no research in your body paragraphs, you need to ask yourself if it's valid and if you really have strong research support. And then paragraphs that begin or end with research rather than your own thoughts. Guys, your topic sentences should always be in your own words. Remember, research should support your thinking. Your thinking should not be defined by other people's work. So make sure that you're using research for support rather than just throwing it out there and clumping it together. So let's take a look at an example. While there are many fingers that could be pointed to this issue, the first driving factor is the idea the internet has become the source for information, especially in education. And internet companies do not want to spend the man hours or money to ensure rural communities have the access they need. So what you see there first is my own words and my topic sentence. Then I elaborate even more. Internet companies are making billions of dollars in neighborhoods that house hundreds of thousands of people. They run lines to communities that indicate high populations, typically educated populations, who they know will need and use their services, leading to major profit margins. When they look at farming in rural communities with homes that may be hundreds of yards or even miles away from one another, they do not see the value of running those connections to limited numbers of people. Dr. Mason Hull recognizes this issue of greed in saying, there is this undeniable contrasting value system. The education system of the United States is recognizing the value of technology within education, but the internet companies are not realizing the value of getting that technology to all groups. There you see a direct quote from an author that was Dr. Mason Hull. And we'll talk about how to cite a little bit later in this lecture this week. And then what you see, guys, is I elaborate on that research, again, using my own words to make the connection to the topic that I wrote about. Dr. Hull's ideas pin the blame on this concept of greed. The internet companies are causing this standstill issue because they have a belief that education is only for those who can afford access. And then I summarize my paragraph by saying, with stated national trends showing that teachers and school systems are using more and more technology in their classrooms and for required homework, it seems obvious that there is a lack of concern and other key players' decision in ensuring the gap is closed between school and home. So, guys, one of the things that I want you to realize is most of this paragraph consists of my own words and my own thoughts. However, it is supported by this really strong research that I elaborated on and made connection to the topic. Several things to note. When you are writing about a topic, stay on topic. Make sure your words and research support the idea you began with. Everything should relate back to your original topic. Refer back to your outline as you navigate your organization. This is ultimately what's going to keep you on track. Use transitional language. Your sentences should flow from one idea to the next very seamlessly. Consider what language to use when moving from one idea to the other. Introduce your article, author, etc. in a signal phrase. Ensure you have the correct information in your sentence or your in-text citation. And please see my examples in the next lecture. And again, always close the paragraph by using a summative sentence that indicates that you are moving to a new idea. So much like the essays that you probably wrote in 111, your topic sentence should always be in your own words. Stay on topic, elaborate on that topic, and use research for substantial support. Again, the research is there to support you and not the other way around. So finally, we're going to move to the conclusion. Think about deductions. What deductions can you logically draw from your research? The conclusion that will serve you best is the one that briefly pulls together the main points of your essay and reinforces that controlling idea, which is your thesis. The conclusion of a problem solution essay should include a restatement of the problem and the benefits of the proposed solution. And then it should have a call to action. What do you want your reader to do now or to understand better? Let's take a look at an example. Through research, evidence, and simply looking inward, it is clear that to promote equity in our education system, there is a desperate need for change. All students should have access to success, their goals and ambitions, and the simple act of completing their homework. Through cultivating an after-school program to give students access to educational technologies, both teachers who are looking for a small pay increase and students who are looking to fulfill their educational goals will benefit. It is time to stop waiting on governments, investors, or internet corporations to choose people over profit. The education system can create a systemic change in their school systems today. And again, guys, what I want you to see, I hit the main key points. I restated my thesis, and then I gave this really clear call to action. Please refer back to this lecture. Remember, there are basic fundamentals for paragraphs when writing a paper. Don't forget your basic fundamentals. This is an excellent resource to refer back to with each essay you write. And again, if you ever have any questions, never hesitate to reach out.